The Green Sheet is a financial publication of the MWRA Advisory Board. In this edition, we'll focus on the MWRA's upcoming Metropolitan Tunnel Redundancy project and its impacts on water rates. Having redundancy for the water system has been a long-term goal for the MWRA for many years. The Metro West Tunnel, finished in 2003, provides redundancy for the Holtman Aqueduct, providing backup water service to communities from Marlborough to Weston, as you can see here with the two green lines. In fact, the Metro West Tunnel was supposed to be the first phase of a plan from 1990 that was supposed to be followed by a Northern Tunnel Loop project. The Northern Tunnel Loop was put on hold, and a new plan in 2011 explored surface piping in place of the original Deep Rock Tunnel. After evaluating surface piping alternatives, the MWRA concluded in 2016 that while surface piping would cost less, this work would have severe impacts on residents and businesses in the communities and recommended a Deep Rock Tunnel option instead. First, let's talk about what redundancy is and why it's so important. Redundancy means all major water lines would have backups so that safe drinking water can be delivered to MWRA's water communities in event of either routine maintenance work or catastrophic failure. Second, redundancy is critical for both public health as well as economic impacts. Most people have experienced or heard of power outages. In many cases, and for many businesses, backup generators provide temporary redundancy until power is restored. In the case of a total loss of water, meaning no running water for communities, what's the backup plan for these residents and businesses? Imagine hospitals treating patients without running or clean water, or whole cities without the ability to get water to residents or take away wastewater to be treated. Let's look at the impacts of a sudden shutdown of the Metropolitan Tunnel system. This map shows the areas of high and pumped service areas that could lose supply in red. Without redundancy, backup supplies would need to be activated, but this could take a long time to slowly refill the system to avoid breaking water lines. Once full, backup systems require frequent testing and a boil order for safe water use. This pie chart shows the impacts of a boil order from a dollar perspective, with residential impacts in green and business impacts in blue. Together, a boil order would cost $297 million per day. One full week under a boil order would cost $2.1 billion. The Advisory Board has supported the goal of water redundancy for decades. In our minds, it was never a question of should we do redundancy, but rather when will we do redundancy. The costs of catastrophic failure we've discussed far outweigh the costs of capital redundancy projects, and when you service 2.5 million people, it's just plain common sense to have backups in place. The Advisory Board has taken several votes supporting redundancy while reserving its right to weigh in on the scope, scale, and costs associated with redundancy projects. Last December, the Advisory Board hosted a Municipal Workshop on this topic, with perspectives from Secretary Jay Ash and Waltham Mayor Jeanette McCarthy, as well as MWRA staff's presentations. MWRA staff had evaluated over 30 different options for this project, with a wide range of costs. To simplify the discussion about cost, they presented information showing impacts of the lowest cost version of the project, a mid-range cost version, and the highest cost version. First, let's take a look at the rate of change for community water assessments at the various levels of this project, what we commonly refer to as MWRA rate increases. What this chart emphasizes is that all three versions of the project have relatively flat rates of increase. This meets the Advisory Board's general goal for rate increases to be sustainable and predictable. Moreover, the lowest cost in red and mid-range cost in green also meet the Advisory Board's "for no more" mantra by keeping rate increases at 4% or under. The highest cost version goes slightly over this level. However, we should point out that the MWRA's rate projections are inherently conservative, and each year both they and the Advisory Board work diligently to reduce the rates as much as we can responsibly below the projected levels. However, the Advisory Board points out each and every year in its budget review, these flat lines are a little misleading. Although only 4 cents on the dollar, 4% of a large number is still a large number, and these increases are still significant to communities in absolute dollars. Here we can see how water assessments continue to climb for communities. The rate of increase may be flat, but rates go up measurably over this period in all three versions. Viewed in dollars, these increases look daunting, but what everyone really wants to know is, how much will my water bill go up for this? Here we can see the impacts of the project on the average household water bill for MWRA ratepayers. The impact early on is very small and grows each year until FY30, where the highest cost option adds $62 per year to the average household's water bill, a far cry from the millions of dollars we saw in the previous chart. Again, as the voice of the communities and the ratepayers, the advisory board's role is to reduce these costs as much as we can responsibly, while at the same time achieving the peace of mind of having water redundancy throughout the system. After hearing the presentations and reviewing the materials, the advisory board ultimately voted to support a deep rock tunnel approach rather than surface piping alternative to help minimize impacts on communities. It voted to support MWRA's recommendation for 2 tunnels, north and south, and recommended that MWRA construct both tunnels concurrently rather than in a phased manner. This concurrent option takes over 5 years off the project and saves the ratepayers about $250 million. To help offset costs to ratepayers, the advisory board also voted to pursue strategies that dedicate non-typical or one-time water revenues to help fund this project. One recent example includes the revenue from communities using MWRA water to help get through the drought in 2016, such as Cambridge, Worcester, and Ashland, among others. The last recommendation was to use a program management division approach similar to the Boston Harbor project. This model was very successful for the Harbor project and will help provide the authority both focus and flexibility on what will be the largest water project in MWRA's history. This has been an edition of the MWRA Advisory Board's Green Sheet video series. For more editions, please visit our website or feel free to contact us at any time.